Welcome to Dog's Information. As you leave for work, it isn't just your dog being sweet and loyal. According to canine neuroscience, it is a full-blown emotional crisis that their brain processes exactly like grief. And the hardest truth to swallow: you are likely the one accidentally triggering this daily panic attack. Separation anxiety doesn't start when the deadbolt clicks. It begins minutes earlier in the mindless morning habits you don't even realize you have. But you can stop the cycle today. I'm going to walk you through an 8-step science-backed routine that completely flips your dog's panic into peaceful acceptance. Stick around, because the final step will entirely determine if your dog spends the next 8 hours resting deeply or spiraling into anxiety. At the end of this video, I have a special gift for those of you who want to know exactly what kind of dog parent you truly are. I'm going to give you a way to find out your exact type. So, be sure to watch to the end. Number 1. Neutralizing your departure triggers. Long before you even reach for the door handle, your dog's heart rate is already elevating. Why? Because dogs are absolute masters of pattern recognition. They spend their entire lives studying your micro-movements. They know that when you put on a specific pair of work shoes, grab your jingling keys, and pick up your bag, isolation is imminent. These everyday objects become massive psychological triggers. The moment they hear the sound of those keys, their internal alarm bells start ringing, and their stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol begin to spike. By the time you actually leave the house, they are already in a state of full-blown panic. To fix this, you have to completely rewire their brain to view these objects as totally meaningless through a process called desensitization. Throughout the week, when you have absolutely no intention of leaving the house, start interacting with your triggers. Pick up your keys, jingle them loudly, and then just go sit on the couch and watch television. Put on your heavy work coat and your shoes and then start cooking dinner. Do this casually and frequently. Eventually, your dog's brain stops associating these specific sounds and actions with the trauma of abandonment. The keys just become keys again. The shoes are just shoes. By dismantling the anticipation of anxiety, you keep their baseline energy completely level. Once those everyday triggers are completely neutralized, the real routine begins, starting with how you physically present your body to them. Number 2. Getting down to their physical level. To truly understand why your normal morning routine is stressing your dog out, we have to look at how they perceive the world geographically. Dogs are pack animals, and in the wild, body placement dictates the hierarchy and the level of threat in a room. The very first mistake we make when we are running late is rushing. We dart around the house, looming over our dogs while we frantically search for our wallets or phones. To a dog, a large human, frantically moving around directly above them projects massive, overwhelming dominance and pressure. It instantly puts them on edge. To counteract this, the first official step of your departure routine requires you to completely change your physical presence. Stop rushing. Take a deep breath and physically lower yourself to their level. Sit down flat on the living room floor. Do not call them over in a frantic, high-pitched voice. And absolutely do not ask them to perform any tricks or obedience commands. Simply coexist in their space. By lowering your body, you are sending a potent biological signal that there is no imminent threat and that the environment is perfectly secure. Let your dog initiate the approach. When they come to you for a gentle lean or a soft pet, this voluntary contact triggers a massive release of oxytocin, the love and bonding hormone in both of your brains. This naturally soothes their nervous system, buffering them against the stress of the impending separation. Now that their heart rate is finally matching your grounded, calm energy, it's time to tap into their strongest, most primal sense to leave a lasting impression of safety. Number 3. Building the scent bridge. Humans are highly visual creatures, but dogs live in a vibrant, complex, invisible world built entirely on scent. Their olfactory system is up to 100,000 times more powerful than ours. For a dog, smelling you is essentially the exact same thing as seeing you. When you leave the house, the sudden absence of your fresh living scent creates a profound void in their sensory world, which directly leads to feelings of isolation. To fix this, you are going to intentionally build what behavioral experts call a scent bridge. You need to leave a physical piece of yourself behind. This isn't just about leaving any old dog toy. It needs to be an item heavily saturated with your unique pheromones. Take an old t-shirt you've slept in for a few nights, a towel you just used, or a blanket you frequently lounge on, and place it directly in their primary resting area or inside their crate. By doing this, you are handing your dog a powerful emotional regulator. Scientific studies have shown that when a dog inhales the highly concentrated scent of their beloved owner, it directly activates the reward centers in their canine brain, significantly reducing pacing, whining, and destructive behaviors while you are gone. It acts as an invisible security blanket, equivalent to leaving a loved one a reassuring photograph to look at when they feel lonely. A comforting scent will beautifully soothe their anxious heart. But an anxious dog can still easily get spooked by the silence of an empty house. That's why you need to control the airwaves. Number 4. Curating a calming soundscape. A major mistake owners make is leaving their dog in a completely dead, silent house. When a house is completely quiet, every single outside noise is magnified to a terrifying degree. A mail carrier dropping a package on the porch, a neighbor slamming their car door, or another dog barking 3 streets away can sound like an immediate home invasion to a dog left alone. Their ears pivot, their hackles raise, and their territorial anxiety kicks into high gear. Alternatively, some owners leave the television on thinking the talking will help. But regular television is full of sudden jarring changes. Aggressive action movie trailers, screaming commercials, sudden sirens, or high-frequency noises can instantly trigger a massive startle response in your sleeping dog. If your dog startles hard while you are gone, they can easily spiral into a panic attack because there is no one there to help them de-escalate. Research strongly suggests that consistent low-intensity sound is what actually heals a dog's nervous system and buffers the environment. Things like continuous soft classical music, a gentle nature, soundscape, or even just the steady mechanical hum of a box fan can actively support emotional regulation. This steady wall of sound acts as a sonic shield, blocking out the unpredictable outside world. You cannot control the chaos happening on your street, but you can absolutely control the acoustic atmosphere inside your home. You've secured the auditory environment and satisfied their sense of smell, but an idle mind is still a dangerous thing. Now we have to put their highly capable brain to work. Number 5. Activating the working brain. One of the primary reasons dogs destroy furniture, aggressively chew the baseboards, or bark endlessly at the window while you are gone isn't just panic. It is intensely misdirected energy. Many dogs suffer terribly because they possess incredibly capable, intelligent brains, but are given absolutely nothing to do with them while locked inside a house for 8 hours. A bored brain quickly morphs into an anxious brain. You must give your dog a captivating, mentally stimulating challenge right before you leave. Instead of just dumping their morning kibble into a metal bowl where they can inhale it in 10 seconds flat, make them work for it. This taps into a psychological concept called contraloading, where animals actually prefer to earn their food rather than having it handed to them. Take a portion of their daily food or some high V-value aromatic treats and hide them. You can use a complex puzzle toy stuff and freeze a rubber Kong or roll the treats up tightly in a towel. The physical act of sniffing, foraging, and solving a problem forces their brain to focus entirely on the task at hand. More importantly, using their nose to hunt for food triggers a massive release of dopamine, directly activating the natural calming systems within their brain. By deploying this tactic right before you step out, you successfully shift their focus away from the tragedy of your departure and onto the immense joy of a rewarding game. With their brain happily distracted by the hunt. You need to make sure the physical space they are left in doesn't accidentally feel like a dark, terrifying punishment. Number 6. Managing the visual environment. When people leave for work in the morning, their first instinct is often to shut the house down completely. They turn off every single light, draw the heavy blackout curtains shut, and pull all the blinds down to save on the electricity bill or keep the house cool during the summer. While this might be great for your wallet, it is an absolute psychological nightmare for a dog prone to separation anxiety. By plunging the house into sudden artificial darkness, you are severely disrupting their circadian rhythm. You are telling their biological clock that the active day is suddenly over, creating a somber, isolating cave-like environment. Furthermore, Sitting in a dark, silent house can make outside shadows cast by moving trees or passing cars seem much more threatening and exaggerated to an anxious mind. Natural light, on the other hand, communicates beautiful normally. It tells them that the day is progressing exactly as it should, keeping their internal clock steady and their mood elevated. Stop living in a cave when you leave. Leave your blinds tilted open just enough to let the natural morning sunshine pour into the room where they spend the most time. If you live in an apartment without great natural light, intentionally leave a soft, warm, toned lamp on in the corner of the living room. You want the visual environment to feel exactly the same as it does when you are sitting right there on the couch with them. The room is perfectly set and their brain is busy solving a puzzle. Now, it's time to communicate your departure without triggering an emotional meltdown. Number 7. They Reassuring vocal signature. We love to talk to our dogs as if they speak fluent English, understanding every word of our complex sentences. While they may not understand your grammar, they are absolute scientific masters at analyzing your tone, pitch, and physical energy. If you say goodbye in a worried, high-pitched, wildly emotional voice, saying things like, "Oh, I'll miss you so much. Please be a good boy. Mommy feels so bad. I'll be right back," you are actively confirming their absolute worst fears. Your anxious, nervous energy tells them that something terrible and abnormal is happening. Why else would their strong, confident pack leader be acting so upset? In this step, you are going to utilize what the animal behaviorists call a letter of vocal signature. You need to pick one short, concise, and highly consistent phrase. It could be, "I'll be right back. Watch the house." Or simply, "See you later." Say it in a low, flat, warm, and entirely unbothered tone of voice. Research shows that dogs process the emotional nuances of human speech in the right hemisphere of their brain. A consistently calm voice acts as a powerful emotional anchor. When you use the exact same phrase in the exact same tone every single time you leave, it becomes a completely predictable routine. And in the world of dog psychology, predictability is the absolute greatest enemy of anxiety. You've set the emotional mood, established the environment, and given the reassuring auditory cue. Now comes the hardest part of the entire routine, the actual moment you cross the threshold. Number 8. The quiet exit. This is it, the final moment. The psychological loop closes right here. And it is undeniably the hardest step for human beings to properly execute because of our own immense guilt. After you have properly prepped their environment, laid down the scent bridge, dropped their mental foraging puzzle, and spoken your calm anchor phrase, you must leave without causing a scene. The vast majority of loving owners absolutely ruin their departures by dragging out the goodbye. They walk to the door, hesitate with their hand on the knob, look back with sad eyes, blow a kiss, and linger in the doorway. This prolonged, highly charged emotional exit causes a massive spike in your dog's cortisol levels the exact second the door finally shuts. You leave them suspended in a state of high arousal with nowhere to put that frantic energy. Instead, you must practice the silent exit. Once your routine is done, simply turn your back, walk out the door, and close it firmly behind you. No pausing, no looking back, no lingering apologies. If you have followed the previous 7 steps correctly, your dog will likely be too busy hunting for treats in their puzzle toy or relaxing on your scented shirt to even care that the door just closed. By leaving in a completely calm, unbothered, and consistent manner, you are hardwiring their brain to understand that your departure is not a catastrophic, life-altering event. It is just a normal, boring, highly predictable part of the daily routine. Why does this comprehensive multi-step routine work so flawlessly? Because throughout these 8 steps, you are actively biohacking your dog's hormonal balance. You are suppressing cortisol, the dangerous stress chemical, through grounded physical touch and a carefully curated environment. Simultaneously, you are boosting dopamine and oxytocin through scent, mental foraging, and predictable behavior. Remember, inconsistency is the most dangerous form of stress for a canine. If you frantically rush out the door screaming one day and give a sad, tearful goodbye the next, your dog will never establish a baseline of safety. By committing to this routine every single day, you are building an unspoken language of profound trust. You aren't doing this just to be a perfect owner. You are doing it because you finally understand that while your dog cannot speak, their behavior has been begging for this stability for years. The most loving thing you can possibly do for an animal that orbits its entire existence around you is to curate a world where they feel inherently safe, deeply understood, and entirely at peace, even when you aren't in the room. But here is the harsh reality. Every effort to establish a calming routine for your dog might completely collapse if you don't recognize your own underlying habits. Behavioral science indicates there are 10 distinct types of dog owners. And sometimes the very way we express our love is the invisible trigger destroying their peace. Are you the overprotective parent or the one unknowingly projecting pressure? You will undeniably find your reflection in one of these 10 types. Scan this QR code or check the description below for the link. It's a free quiz and it only takes 2 minutes. We would absolutely love to hear about the loyal companions waiting for you at home. Drop down into the comments below. Tell us your dog's name and let us know which of these steps you are going to try implementing tomorrow morning. Welcome to Dog Facts and Fun, where every fact hides a story of love. What if your harmless morning routine is actually sending your dog into a silent panic? To us, leaving the house is just a normal everyday necessity. But to your dog, a lack of proper preparation can trigger severe separation anxiety. Today, we are exploring 9 powerful science-backed strategies to keep your furry best friend perfectly calm, safe, and happy while you are away. Make sure you stick around for tip number 9. Because it exposes a massive everyday mistake almost every single dog owner makes without even realizing it. Grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and let's uncover how to transform your dog's alone time from stressful to serene. 1. The calm departure. Don't make a big deal. Let us begin with the hardest habit to break. We have all been there. It is incredibly tempting. Right as you are heading out the front door to kneel down, cup your dog's sweet face in your hands. Give them a tight hug and whisper how much you will miss them and how you will be back soon. While this drawn-out goodbye feels wonderful and reassuring to us, it actually does the exact opposite for our dogs. It turns your simple exit into a dramatic, emotionally charged movie scene. Dogs are highly intuitive creatures. They are absolute masters at mirroring human energy. If you act like leaving is a massive heartbreaking event, your dog will naturally assume that something terrible is about to happen. Their heart rate elevates and their cortisol levels spike before you even turn the door knob. Instead, you need to keep your exits entirely calm, boring, and remarkably casual. A simple, cheerful, "see you later," followed by calmly walking out the door, teaches your dog that your departure is just a normal everyday occurrence, not a crisis that requires them to panic. This approach is absolutely vital. For breeds that are genetically prone to separation anxiety like Labrador Retrievers, Border Collies, or beloved rescue dogs who might already possess a shaky sense of security from their past. By maintaining a calm, unbothered energy, you actively help your dog feel significantly more secure in your absence. You are projecting the quiet confidence of a leader who has everything under control. 2. Tire them out before you go. A little-known secret to a deeply peaceful home is that a tired dog is fundamentally a happy dog. But more importantly, a sleepy dog is far less likely to feel anxious or destructive when left completely alone. Before you grab your keys and step out for the day, try to spend just 15 to 20 minutes engaging in a focused high-energy activity. This could be a vigorous game of tug-of-war in the living room, a brisk walk around the neighborhood, or even practicing a few obedience commands with high-value treats. This short burst of focused activity burns off their pent-up physical and mental energy beautifully, setting the tone for a day of relaxation, rather than a day of destruction. Breeds with naturally high energy drives like Siberian Huskies, German Shepherds, or Jack Russell Terriers absolutely crave this physical release. Without it, they will inevitably look to create their own fun in all the wrong places. That usually involves chewing the heels of your favorite pair of shoes, digging a massive hole into the sofa cushions, or shredding your decorative pillows across the living room floor. This tip goes way beyond simple obedience. It is a crucial pillar of protecting your dog's long-term mental health. Dogs that receive adequate stimulation are much more likely to spend their solo hours napping in a warm sunbeam rather than pacing the floors or stressing out by the front window. Even if you feel incredibly rushed in the morning, Remember that just 10 minutes of playing fetch could mean the difference between a peaceful, anxiety-free day and a chaotic one. You are transforming their alone time into restorative rest time. 3. Create a safe den or retreat zone. When you leave your dog alone, it is essential that they have a designated space where they feel truly secure. By nature, dogs are den animals. This means that when they feel vulnerable or alone, they do not necessarily want wide-open floor plans or giant empty rooms. Instead, they crave a secure, cozy, enclosed corner where they can retreat and feel protected from the unpredictable outside world. This safe zone could be a comfortable crate, provided they are positively crate-trained and view it as their bedroom. It could also be a quiet corner in the guest room with their favorite plush blanket or even a small makeshift fort, set up under a sturdy desk. To make this space even more comforting and effective, try adding an old worn t-shirt that carries your specific scent. This works almost exactly like a toddler's favorite security blanket. It does not change the fact that they are alone, but your familiar scent acts as a powerful grounding mechanism, making their environment feel significantly less scary. Sensitive breeds such as Chihuahua, Dachshunds, and French Bulldogs often benefit the most from this kind of intimate setup as they can be highly reactive to environmental stress and sudden noises. Remember, this isn't about confinement or locking them away. It is about providing an emotional anchor of comfort and safety so they do not feel entirely lost and exposed in a large empty house. Having this dedicated retreat helps manage their alone time by giving them a physical boundary where they can truly let their guard down. 4. Provide meaningful entertainment and enrichment. Imagine being locked in a waiting room for 8 hours with no television, no smartphone, no internet, and absolutely nothing to read. That maddening boredom is exactly what your dog experiences when they are left alone in a bare house with nothing to engage their brilliant minds. For a dog, boredom is not just a minor inconvenience. It is a major psychological stressor that can lead to severe destructive behaviors, chronic anxiety, and even symptoms that closely mirror clinical human depression. To prevent this, you should never leave them empty-handed. Before you head out, scatter a few of their favorite durable chew toys around the living room. Better yet, prepare a hollow rubber toy like a Kong stuffed with dog-safe peanut butter, plain yogurt, or mashed bananas and freeze it overnight. The act of licking and working the frozen treat out of the toy is naturally soothing and can keep them occupied for up to an hour. You can also introduce puzzle feeders or treat dispensing balls that force them to use their brains and paws to earn their snacks. For highly intelligent, working breeds like Australian Shepherds, Golden Retrievers, or Standard Poodles, mental stimulation is arguably just as vital as a long run in the park. Another fantastic strategy is to rotate their toys every few days so their environment always feels fresh, novel, and exciting. By keeping their minds engaged and working, you ensure they stay happy and fulfilled, completely neutralizing the boredom that leads to separation-related stress. 5. Choose the right auditory environment. This is a trap that so many well-meaning dog owners fall into. Many people believe that leaving a random TV channel or a talk radio station on is a wonderful way to keep their dog company and mask outside noises. But leaving on uncurated media can often do far more harm than good. Imagine your dog is resting peacefully to a quiet dialogue scene on the television, and suddenly a blaring commercial with high-pitched sirens or a movie trailer featuring loud explosions and screaming completely shatters the silence that is terrifying, not relaxing. Sensitive breeds like Cocker Spaniels, Whippets, or Toy Poodles can be easily startled by these harsh, unpredictable noises. And without you there to soothe them, that sudden startle can quickly spiral into genuine full-blown panic. The solution is not silence, but rather controlled, predictable sound. You should utilize carefully curated dog calming playlists or specialized streaming channels designed specifically for pets. These platforms feature continuous soothing nature sounds, very soft, classical music or rhythmic heartbeat tempos scientifically engineered to lower a canine's heart rate and soothe their nervous system. Think of a controlled audio environment as emotional air conditioning for your pup. It hums in the background, masks the scary sounds of garbage trucks or slamming car doors outside, and stabilizes their mood all day long. 6. Desensitize your departure cues. Dogs are incredibly observant, and they possess associative memories that are far sharper than we give them credit for. Long before you actually open the front door to leave, Your dog already knows you are going. No, because they have memorized your departure cues. The sequence of putting on your work shoes, grabbing your coat from the closet, picking up your purse, and the distinct jingle of your car keys all serve as countdown alarms to your dog. For a dog that struggles with being alone, the anxiety does not start when the door closes. It starts the exact second they hear those keys jingle. Their adrenaline begins to build, and by the time you leave, they are already in a state of panic. To help your dog remain calm, you must completely desensitize them to these triggers. You need to break the association between the sounds and your actual departure. Try this during your days off. Walk over to the counter, pick up your car keys so they jingle loudly, and then go sit right back down on the sofa and watch television. Put your work shoes on and then go into the kitchen to make a sandwich. Grab your coat, put it on, and just read a book in the living room. By repeatedly performing these actions without actually leaving the house, the cues lose their power. Your dog will eventually learn that the sound of the keys does not automatically mean they are about to be abandoned. Stripping the anxiety away from these daily routines is a massive step toward keeping their baseline stress levels low. 7. Manage the visual environment. While we often think about what our dogs are hearing while we are away, we almost entirely forget to consider what they are seeing. If your dog has free roam of the house and access to large front windows or glass sliding doors, you might think you are doing them a huge favor by giving them a beautiful scenic view of the outside world. But for many dogs, especially territorial or protective breeds, a giant front window is just a giant, exhausting stressor. Every single time a postal worker walks up to the mailbox, a stray neighborhood cat darts across the front lawn or another dog is walked down the sidewalk. Your pup's territorial instincts instantly flare up. They bark. They pace. The hair on their back stands up and their adrenaline heavily spikes. The problem is they cannot actually do anything about the perceived threat outside, which leads to massive psychological frustration and barrier reactivity. By the time you get home from a long day at work, your dog is completely exhausted, panting, and stressed out from effectively guarding the house for 8 hours straight. To easily fix this, simply draw the heavy curtains, lower the blinds, or use a decorative frosted window cling film on the lower half of your glass doors before you leave. By removing these unpredictable visual triggers, you give your dog permission to officially clock out from their guard duties. Out of sight means out of mind, allowing them to actually get some restful, uninterrupted sleep while you are gone. 8. Practice micro-departures. This is an absolute game-changer for dogs that already struggle with severe separation anxiety. Dogs do not inherently understand the concept of time the way human beings do. When you leave for an 8-hour workday, a dog with separation anxiety feels like you might be gone forever. They do not know if you will be back in 10 minutes or 10 years. To help them build robust confidence, you need to systematically teach them that leaving always equals returning. You can do this by practicing what behaviorists call micro-departures. Start incredibly small. Put your shoes on, grab your keys, step outside your front door, and shut it behind you for just 10 seconds. Then calmly unlock the door and walk back inside. Do not make a big fuss. Just go about your normal business. A few hours later, step out for 30 seconds. The next day, try stepping out for 2 minutes, then 5 minutes, then a quick trip around the block. By practicing these micro-departures consistently throughout the week at completely random times, you build an unshakable foundation of trust. Your dog's brain begins to realize that your absence is temporary and totally safe. It takes a great deal of patience, but this gradual exposure therapy builds profound independence, ensuring that, when you finally do leave for a full day, your dog knows deep in their heart that their beloved leader will always come back to them. 9. The calm reunion. Don't throw a party when you return. Finally, we arrive at tip number 9. The massive mistake that almost every single loving dog owner makes. You have been gone all day. You miss your dog terribly. And when you finally open the front door, your dog is spinning in circles, whining and jumping up and down. Your natural human instinct is to match their energy. You drop your bags, pitch your voice up high, and enthusiastically praise them, petting them vigorously as they jump all over you. While this reunion feels deeply satisfying to our human emotions, it is incredibly detrimental to a dog's mental health. Why? Because coming home and throwing a wild party completely validates their anxiety. It tells your dog, "You were right to be terrified. My absence was a huge, scary ordeal, and it is a miracle that we have finally been reunited." The extreme emotional contrast between being alone and your explosive return creates an unhealthy addiction to your presence. To foster a calm, confident dog, your return needs to be just as incredibly boring and neutral as your departure. When you walk through the door, keep your posture relaxed, avoid direct eye contact, and politely ignore their frantic jumping or whining. Put your keys away, take off your coat, and wait for just 2 or 3 minutes. The exact moment your dog stops jumping, puts all 4 paws on the floor, and takes a calming breath. That is when you reach down and lovingly pet them. By only rewarding calm behavior with your affection, you teach your dog that your return is normal, safe, and nothing to hyperventilate over. Over time, they will stop the frantic greetings and simply walk up to you with a gentle, relaxed tail wag, proving that they spent their day feeling secure. Building a strong, deeply trusting relationship with your pet is a lifelong journey. And how you manage your comingings and goings is one of the most incredibly important steps you can take for their emotional well-being. By implementing these 9 powerful strategies, you are actively providing a consistent, loving environment that helps your dog remain calm, focused, and wonderfully relaxed until the beautiful moment you walk back through the door. Our dogs rely on us entirely to interpret the human world for them, and taking these small steps proves just how much we cherish them. I would absolutely love to hear about the furry best friend who eagerly waits for you to come home every day. Please take a moment right now to drop a comment below and tell me your wonderful dog's name. Welcome to Dog Facts and Fun, where every fact hides a story of love. You think your dog is fine when you leave the house. They are quietly sitting by the door, giving their tail a soft wag. But behind those calm eyes, a biological alarm is blaring. Their cortisol levels are secretly spiking 3 times higher than their normal baseline. Every single time you walk out that door, your dog experiences a severe psychological crisis. And the heartbreaking truth, the exact things you do to comfort them before you leave are actually making their panic significantly worse. From the way you say goodbye to the specific spot you touch before grabbing your keys, science has uncovered that our human instincts are completely wrong. If you want to finally cure your dog's separation anxiety, you need to understand the hidden mechanisms running inside their brain. Let's decode their secret language. Number 1. The countdown you never noticed. Most experienced dog parents think they are being incredibly subtle when they prepare to leave for the day. But researchers at the University of Lincoln discovered something deeply disturbing. Dogs actually start their severe anxiety response up to 20 whole minutes before anyone actually walks out the front door. Your morning routine creates what animal behaviorists call an auditory countdown. The distinct beep of the coffee maker finishing its cycle. The specific thud of the closet door closing. The subtle way your footsteps sound completely different on the hardwood floor when you are wearing hard-soled work shoes versus soft slippers. A massive study in applied animal behavior science found that dogs can accurately distinguish between 17 different pre-aperture sounds in the average household. Yes, 17. And the keys create the absolute biggest problem of all. When researchers measured salivary cortisol in dogs, they found that the high-pitched jingle of metal keys alone caused a staggering 68% spike in stress markers. And the dogs hadn't even been left alone yet. Some owners accidentally train their dogs to panic through what seems like absolute kindness. That last-minute aggressive belly rub or a frantic quick game of fetch right before heading out floods the dog's central nervous system with arousal chemicals right before total abandonment. Dr. Patricia McConnell's research shows that elevated play arousal combined with sudden physical isolation creates what she calls emotional whiplash. It is the neurological equivalent of driving a car at full speed and suddenly slamming on the brakes. But it's not just the physical sounds of your morning routine that set them off. It's what you actually say right before you turn the doorknob. Number 2, the goodbye that feels like grief. So you bend down, look them deeply in the eyes, stroke their ears, and say something like, "Be a good boy. I'll be back soon. I love you." It feels completely natural, necessary, and even cruel not to do it. Well, veterinary Behaviorists have mapped the canine brain and discovered something heartbreaking. Emotional drawn-out goodbyes activate the exact same brain regions in dogs that process genuine grief. Your dog's brain literally interprets your sweet emotional goodbye as a tragic grief event every single time you leave for work. Those sweet words and extra pets create what researchers formally call departure distress priming. The heavy emotional energy signals to the dog that something absolutely terrible is about to happen. Dogs who receive these emotional goodbyes consistently show 40% more destructive behavior in the very first hour alone. Meanwhile, dogs whose owners simply walk out the door without any ceremony barely register the event as significant. Their heart rates stay entirely stable and their cortisol remains completely at baseline. The departure just becomes another boring movement through space rather than an emotional catastrophe. So if you can't say a long emotional goodbye, what exactly are you supposed to do? The answer lies in a tiny biological hack you must perform exactly 5 minutes before you walk out. Number 3. The 5-minute window changes everything. A research team at Tufts University studied a physical technique they called grounding touch, and the incredible results completely challenged conventional separation anxiety advice. The technique, which successfully reduced panic behaviors by a massive 73% in their clinical trials, works exactly like this. About 5 minutes before you are ready to leave the house, place your hand firmly flat and heavy on your dog's chest or shoulder. Not petting, not scratching. Just steady, firm, even physical pressure for exactly 30 seconds. Do not talk to them. Do not make eye contact. Just provide that still grounding pressure. This highly specific type of touch physically activates the dog's parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest response that is the exact biological opposite of the anxiety-driven fight or flight mode. It literally forces their heart rate to slow down and drastically decreases their cortisol production. But there is a catch. You have to remain completely emotionally calm yourself. Dogs can physically detect changes in human heart rate through invisible chemosignals. Any anxiety you feel about leaving will transfer straight through that touch. For particularly touch-sensitive dogs who get squirmy, there is an alternative. Place your hand lightly over their front paw. Do not hold it down. Just cover it for the same 30 seconds. This activates proprioceptive feedback that helps them feel physically anchored to the floor. The 5-minute timing hits an absolute neurological sweet spot. The profound calming effect persists right through your actual exit without becoming part of the dreaded anxiety chain. But before you try this grounding touch, you need to look at the clock. Because applying this rule to the wrong type of absence will completely backfire. Number 4. Why grabbing the mail needs different rules. Your dog's stress response differs completely for a quick 5-minute departure versus a grueling 8-hour workday. Using the wrong departure ritual for the wrong absence makes absolutely everything worse. Researchers monitoring canine heart rate variability discovered something highly unexpected. For brief absences under 15 minutes, like checking the mail or running the trash to the curb, dogs who received absolutely zero departure ritual showed the lowest possible stress levels. Their owners just walked out. No goodbyes, no grounding touch, nothing. The dogs barely even registered the door closing. For these short absences, the absolute best ritual is literally no ritual. Make your departure invisible. Walk out seamlessly while they are distracted by something else. Clinical studies by Dr. Karen Overall show that these dogs don't even activate their separation response system. Their brains simply categorize the event like you've just walked into the next room. Long absences, however, need completely different handling. For anything over 2 hours, dogs desperately benefit from what behaviorists call a predictable pre-aperture sequence. This means executing the exact same series of calm actions every single time. The identical grounding touch in the exact same spot, saying the exact same neutral phrase in the exact same tone, and performing a 30 second on pause before opening the door. This only works for long absences. But even if you perfectly execute your departure for a long workday, there is a tiny window of time right after you close the door that dictates the rest of their entire day. Number 5. The critical first 15 seconds. After you close the front door behind you, Something happens inside the house that determines whether your dog enters full panic mode or quietly settles down. Hidden camera studies have revealed that dogs make a critical biological decision in the absolute first 15 seconds after the door clicks shut. And the trigger for that decision comes from what happened 30 seconds before the exit. Dogs whose owners paused literally just stood completely still in the hallway for 30 seconds right before leaving were 60% more likely to settle peacefully within that crucial 15-second window. Just standing there, maybe checking your phone, creating absolutely zero interaction or emotional stimulation with the dog. This boring pause allows the dog's nervous system to completely downregulate from whatever mild arousal the departure preparations just caused. When that interaction simply doesn't come, their brain realizes there is no immediate threat. Some owners, trying to be kind, rush out the door as fast as humanly possible, thinking they are ripping off the Band-Aid. These dogs consistently showed the absolute highest panic scores of all. The sudden chaotic absence after highly visible frantic preparations creates a violent cognitive dissonance that their brain simply cannot process. While that 30-second pause is crucial for their brain, you can actually predict whether they will panic or settle just by looking at where they choose to stand in the room. Number 6. Where they wait reveals everything. In the final 10 minutes before your typical departure time, your dog will position themselves in a highly revealing way. And this specific physical positioning predicts exactly how badly they will handle the absence. Dogs who aggressively station themselves directly between you and the front door show cortisol levels 85% higher than dogs positioned elsewhere in the house. They are physically attempting to prevent the inevitable. Every departure becomes a literal physical battle that they lose, deeply reinforcing their trauma response. Dogs who frantically follow you from room to room in those final minutes are actively pre-grieving. They are trying to maximize physical contact before the impending separation. The more heavily they shadow you before departure, the significantly worse their first hour alone will be. They are actually actively amplifying their own panic response through this shadowing behavior. The calmest dogs position themselves in what researchers call their safe zone. Usually a cozy dog bed, or a favorite spot on the rug where they can clearly see the door without physically blocking it. These dogs are actively practicing being alone while you are still physically there, brilliantly preparing their nervous system for what is coming. Once you finally make it out the door, their primary sense takes over and they start using it to build a literal biological ticking clock. Number 7. Your scent becomes a countdown clock. Every single time you leave the house, you create what olfactory researchers call a scent degradation timeline. Basically, your dog tracks exactly how long you have been gone through molecular decay. Dogs can detect scent molecules at staggering concentrations as low as 1 part per trillion. They are literally physically tracking the exact decay curve of your human smell throughout the day. Groundbreaking studies at Barnard College found that dogs can accurately estimate an owner's absence duration within a strict 20-minute margin based entirely on scent degradation in the living room. The physical items you touched right before leaving hold your scent the absolute strongest. The very last thing you touch becomes their temporal anchor. Some owners unknowingly create intense anxiety by touching the dog's favorite toy or bed right before leaving, accidentally turning their comfort items into loud ticking countdown clocks. The solution seems totally backward, but it works flawlessly. About 10 minutes before departure, deliberately and heavily touch an item near the front door, like a specific entry mat or a hallway cushion. This creates a scent bridge. Your strongest scent remains anchored at the exit point, which makes your absence feel far less absolute to their brain. Dogs with access to these deliberate scent bridges show 50% less vocalization and howling in the first hour. And for long workday absences, leaving out a piece of unwashed clothing provides a massive consistent scent concentration that doesn't trigger their time-tracking instincts. Even with perfect scent management, there are specific days where all your training completely falls apart. And science has finally figured out way. Number 8. The pattern behind meltdown days. Every experienced dog parent knows about meltdown days. Those highly frustrating days when they're usually stable, well-behaved dogs suddenly absolutely cannot handle being left alone. Researchers have finally identified a strict behavioral pattern that predicts these exact crisis days with an 80% accuracy rate. Meltdown days almost always follow what scientists officially call social surplus events. These are days with unusually high human interaction, weekend family gatherings, long playdates at the park, or days when you happen to work from home. The violent contrast between extremely high social contact and sudden total isolation triggers a severe differential stress response. Basically, the dog's brain physically cannot regulate this dramatic stimulation shift. Their dopamine and oxytocin levels crash much harder than usual, creating literal chemical withdrawal-like symptoms. The more intense the social day was, the significantly worse. Tomorrow's separation anxiety will be. A specific protocol prevents these terrible meltdowns. On highly social days, you must deliberately build in micro-separations. Close a door between you and your dog. For exactly 5 minutes. 3 different times during the busy social day. These tiny breaks prevent their internal attachment system from becoming dangerously hyperactivated. Dealing with these meltdown days often leads to destructive behavior. And how you react to that destruction when you finally get home is probably destroying their trust in you. Number 9. The guilty look is actually pure terror. You come home after a long day at work and you find that your dog has absolutely shredded your couch cushions or dragged the trash across the kitchen floor. When you confront them, they cower, pin their ears back, tuck their tail, and give you what looks exactly like a guilty expression. Most owners think they know exactly what they did wrong. Veterinary behaviorists have proven this is a massive psychological myth. Dogs do not feel complex human guilt, and they have incredibly poor short-term episodic memory. When they give you that look, they are not feeling remorse for chewing the pillow 3 hours ago. They are displaying classic submissive appeasement behavior. They are reacting entirely to your current angry body language, your tense facial expressions, and the sharp tone of your voice. To a dog, you are unpredictably terrifying in that exact moment. Punishing a dog after the fact does absolutely nothing to fix separation anxiety. It only makes it infinitely worse. It teaches the dog that your return home, which should be a moment of relief, is actually a highly dangerous, scary event. This fear stacks on top of their isolation panic, creating a vicious cycle of terror. You must clean up the mess calmly and focus on preventing the anxiety that caused the destruction in the first place. And part of the reason they pace and destroy things in the first place is because of a common trick owners use to keep them company. Number 10. The false comfort of background noise. For decades, the absolute standard advice for leaving a dog alone was to leave the television or talk radio on. The human logic was simple. The sound of voices will make the house feel less empty and it will keep the dog company. Recent bioacoustic studies on dogs have proven this advice to be completely counterproductive. Dogs have incredibly acute hearing and their brains are highly evolved to distinguish between the voices of their specific pack members and the voices of strangers. When you leave talk radio or a random TV show on, the dog's brain is forced to constantly process the unpredictable varying tones of strange human voices filling their territory. Instead of being comforting, this creates low-level continuous auditory stress. The dog cannot deeply sleep because their brain is constantly monitoring the strange voices for potential threats or commands. They remain in an exhausting state of hypervigilance. If you want to use sound to soothe your dog, science points to a very specific frequency. Psychoacoustic researchers have found that specially composed slow-tempo classical music, specifically pieces that hold a steady 50 to 60 beats per minute, physically lowers a dog's heart rate. Even better is reggae music, which clinical studies show dogs actually prefer over classical. The steady, predictable, rhythmic beat mimics a resting heart rate and actively encourages deep restorative sleep. But even a perfectly quiet, relaxing house won't help if you undo all of their calm behavior the absolute second you walk back through the front door. Number 11. The danger of the excited return. We all love the feeling of walking through the front door and being greeted like an absolute rock star. Your dog jumps, whines, spins in circles, and acts like you have been gone for 10 years. Naturally, you drop your bags, get down on the floor, and excitedly match their energy, saying, "I missed you so much." According to behavioral neuroscience, this is one of the most damaging things you can possibly do for a dog with separation anxiety. When you make a massive emotional deal out of your return, you are actively validating their panic. You are communicating to their nervous system. You were right to be terrified. My absence was a huge deal. And it is a miracle that we have survived and found each other again. This intense emotional spike creates a massive contrast between the boring isolation of the day and the explosive joy of your return, making the isolation feel even more unbearable tomorrow. The cure for this is the 5-nut ignore rule. When you come home, do not look at your dog. Do not speak to them and do not touch them for the first 5 minutes. Walk inside, put your keys away, take off your coat, and calmly go about your business. Wait until their breathing slows down and all 4 paws are firmly on the floor. Only then should you calmly pet them. This teaches their brain that you coming and going is a completely boring, non-eventful part of daily life. Fixing your return changes their mindset, but what they are looking at while you are gone can secretly fry their nervous system. Number 12. The window trap. Many owners leave the curtains wide open or the blinds pulled up when they go to work, thinking their dog will enjoy looking out the living room window. They believe they are providing entertaining doggy TV to cure their boredom. But veterinary behaviorists warn that for many dogs, this is actually psychological torture. Every single time a dog sees a perceived threat through the window, a mail carrier walking up the path, a stray cat in the bushes, or another dog walking by on a leash, their body releases a sudden surge of adrenaline and cortisol. In the wild, after a threat passes, an animal shakes off the stress and completely returns to an emotional baseline. But when a dog is trapped inside a house entirely unable to physically chase or investigate the threat, that stress hormone never dissipates. This creates a highly dangerous phenomenon called trigger stacking. The mailman walks by at 9 a.m. cortisol spike. A delivery truck rumbles past. At 10:30 a.m., another cortisol spike layered right on top of the first. By 1 o'clock p.m., the dog's central nervous system is completely fried. They aren't chewing your baseboards because they miss you. They are chewing your baseboards because they are chemically overloaded with unspent adrenaline and have no physical outlet for it. If your dog suffers from separation anxiety, close the blinds or apply a frosted window film to the lower panes of glass. Removing visual access to the outside world almost always produces a massive immediate drop in pacing and destruction. If looking out the window causes stress, you need to give them an alternative outlet for their anxiety right before you leave. Number 13. The hidden power of canine chewing. When we feel anxious, humans bite our fingernails, bounce our legs, or nervously chew on pens. Dogs have their own biological version of this stress relief mechanism. And if you use it correctly, it can completely rewire how they feel about you leaving the house. The physical acts of licking and chewing are biologically deeply soothing for a dog. The repetitive motion of their jaw and tongue physically stimulates the release of highly potent endorphins and dopamine in their brain. It acts as a natural biological pacifier that actively suppresses the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for processing fear and panic. You can hijack this biological response to cure their departure anxiety. Right before you leave the house, give your dog a high-value frozen lick mat, a stuffed Kong, or a durable, safe chew bone. Do not just hand them a dry biscuit that they can swallow in 2 seconds. You need something that will take them 20 to 30 minutes of continuous focused licking and chewing to finish. By the time they finally finish the puzzle, the highly stressful first 20 minutes of your absence will have completely passed. Their brain will be flooded with calming endorphins. Their heart rate will be stable and they will naturally feel inclined to take a nap. You have successfully taken the exact moment of their highest panic and rewired their brain to associate it with chemical pleasure. We love our dogs more than anything in the world. But our natural human instincts on how to comfort them are often exactly what causes them the most psychological pain. They do not process goodbyes, absences, or time the exact way we do. But by deeply understanding the actual biological machinery running inside their brains, we can finally stop accidentally torturing them with our love. We can leave the house knowing that they aren't waiting in absolute terror, but resting in total peace. If this video completely changed the way you think about leaving your best friend at home, please share it with another dog owner who desperately needs to hear this. And before you go, please drop down into the comments right now and tell us your dog's name. We want to hear all about the amazing dogs that make coming home the absolute best part of your day. Thanks for watching and like and subscribe, share please.